History happened everywhere.
The verdict.
This is our after-show podcast where we look back at the most recent episode, Abracadabra, in the Northern Hemisphere during 24 hours. So if you haven't listened to that, go back and check it out, or else you will run into spoilers ahead.
Finsbury Park backwards is crappy rub sniff.
Hello, I'm here in the studio with the delicious bourbon biscuit to my lovely cup of tea, the magical Ryan Weir.
Hello everyone, I am rather chocolatey.
I'm not sure how to take that, but as the chocolate biscuit, you would be the first to disappear in a meeting. That's what I think. And we're joined as ever by that damnable didgeridoo, the Judge Paul Dersley.
I think I'm more of a custard cream.
Yeah, pink wafer.
A pink wafer is the delicious snack that disappears in your mouth.
Jammy Dodger then.
No, that's Pete. If anyone's a jammy dodger, it's Pete.
A communal garden biscuit. Anyway, on with the podcast, and I have to be honest, I had the Men in Black round this week, and they flashed me with their thing, and I've entirely forgotten what we talked about last week.
Oh no, they did that again.
Again, well, I don't know, did they do that before?
Well, look, maybe I could help you out.
If you could, but make it snappy if you would.
Yeah?
About
Well,
60 seconds.
I could definitely do that. When do you want me to do it?
Off you go.
For episode 49, we took a look at the bustling, rainy top half of the planet and told some stories about magical things that happen there within a 24-hour window. We discovered the ancient origins of how we ended up with a 24-hour day. We discovered the ancient origins of how we ended up saying the magical words abracadabra, which was basically as a placebo for some pretty awful illnesses. Talking of which, we discovered the horrific origins of the medieval disease known as the sweats, which saw victims succumb to 24 hours of grueling illness before dying in a puddle of their own sweat. We discovered the ancient origins of the meaty snack grilled on a stick, the deliciously mighty kebab. We met some modern escapologists whose dangerous stagecraft wowed and horrified audiences, and finally we ended with a song, the number 90 greatest song of all time. In fact, it's Abracadabra by the Steve Miller Band.
That was last week's episode done, summarised nicely, nice one son. Now we're over to young Dersley, who's gonna tell you what he thought of thee. He'll take you apart without any care, he's the lovely Paul Dersley, the lovely Paul Dersley.
Ah, yes, it's all come flooding back. Thank you, Ryan. That was very helpful. So, first impressions, Judge Dersley, how did you feel about the episode?
It was all over the place.
It was all over the place. Well, it was half over the place, I would argue.
Yeah, in the top half.
Specifically.
Specifically.
That's the first thing I need to pick you up on. That's purely subjective.
Oh, really? How come?
Well, whether it's the top or the bottom half, it doesn't matter. It's arbitrary. It's just, as we're all northern supremacists, we always put north at the top.
We do, yeah, because it's called the North. Isn't that generally where the North is?
Everyone knows North is up.
Well, the first thing that stuck in my mind that I challenged to myself, and by the way, I had to take a mouth pastille after this episode. I shouted at the radio so much.
Mouth pastille. Okay, well, I'm terribly sorry that you had to shout at the radio so much.
Well, it was very interesting because you said that the ratio of land in the northern and southern hemispheres was 2-1. And you gave those figures and they didn't ring true to me.
Okay.
And I did the sums and they were right.
Dun, dun, dun.
I was surprised too.
Well, I'm surprised that you're right. I think the audience at large is sitting there cheering and going, I didn't see that coming.
But one thing is interesting, the population density, therefore, is the same in the northern and the southern hemispheres because they have 10% of the land and 10% of the population.
Oh, I see.
That's a good
That's
point.
a really good way of looking at it, yeah. But it's interesting though, isn't it? Because I always consider the equator, we think of the equator being around the middle of the planet.
Which it is.
Which it is, but not when it comes to land.
I think it's because there's kind of a big gap. When you see a map, a classic aligned map in the way we're accustomed to, there's a bit sort of a gap at the bottom and there isn't a gap at the top. So everything's a bit shifted up. So if you asked me to draw a line, I'd draw a line probably somewhere in the middle of the land masses rather than the whole map.
Right.
Yes,
yeah.
it's to do with Southern Ocean, isn't it? Because there's just nothing there, so it's effectively chopped off.
It was one of those things that when I was researching, I was just doing generic searches first, right? 24-hour magic, in the world. Let's just see. And I had to check each country that was coming up. I'm like, is this in the north? Is this in the south? Like, it's really hard to get, especially when you get to that sort of
here is an
area.
interesting one. What about Colombia?
Oh, is this going to be one of those ones where it's a bit in the north and a bit in the south?
It's something like 99.99% in the north, and there is one tiny little bit in the south.
I would like to go and do one of those things where they have like the line on the floor and you can stand on 1 foot in the north and 1 foot in the south.
No, why don't you just go to Greenwich then?
But that's east and west, right? That's not north and south.
Yes.
I want a foot in the north and I want a foot in the south.
So presumably there is a location in which all four converge.
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, it's off the Bight of Bonny.
The Bight of Bonny, what's that? Where is that?
Well, it's where the equator and the prime meridian intersect.
Sure. Give me more of a geolocatory
Country,
answer.
for example.
It's in the Bight of Bonny.
Do you just not know is the answer?
Yes, I do know. I can tell you exactly where it is. It's in the bit where the African bulge stops.
Okay, on the left-hand side, in the west?
Yes.
Okay. We're looking at the map now.
We are. I'm looking. So, right, you've got the sticky out bit of Africa that sticks out
So
on the
it's
left-hand
just
side.
below that.
In the sea?
In the sea, yes. It's in the sea.
Oh, well, there's your problem, Ryan. You're going to have to find a boat to take you out there.
Okay, interesting. So there is a place where all four align.
I think there's actually a weather buoy at that location. 0 degrees east, 0 degrees north.
Surely there must be the equivalent on the other side as well, though.
There is. And I just suddenly thought, north and south will have those as well. You just go to the North Pole.
Yeah.
Easy.
Easy.
Just
go to the North Pole. Another simple solution from Ryan. Mush.
But everywhere is south at the North Pole.
What? How is that? Surely everything is north at the North Pole.
Oh, everywhere is south at the North Pole. You can't go north at the North Pole, can you?
Oh, I see.
What if you jump?
Yeah, if I take a ladder.
Well, that's not north, is it?
Oh, yeah.
Well, north has no meaning at the North Pole. It's like you start at the North Pole, you walk a mile south, a mile east, and a mile north. You're back where you started.
Yeah. Is that not the case where I just stand now if I just went for a walk?
No, because if you walked a mile south and then a mile east and a mile north, you'd be a mile away.
Oh, yeah, good point. So talk to me about the tilt of the Earth. Why does the Earth tilt?
Well, it's not 100% certain why the Earth tilts. It may be to do with the moon.
Okay.
But first of all, you used the wrong word. Use the word rotation, which is to do with the length of a day, whereas you were effectively talking about a year, which is an orbit. That was one of your errors.
Do you want me to keep a running total of the errors, Ryan?
No, it's fine. I see you sitting there scribbling away.
So,
It's fine.
Well, I thought was the impact that produced the moon probably twisted the Earth off the orbit. It's about 23.5 degrees, isn't it? So
That's quite a lot, though.
The moon's quite a big chunk to fall off as well, isn't it?
Oh, I suppose so.
and so that's very useful for the planet, because by having those seasons, it allows for a temperature distribution across the planet, and the moon itself actually acts as a brake on that. Whereas if you get certain planets like the funniest planet in the solar system, where its northern hemisphere points directly at the sun, so the northern hemisphere is always in the sun and the southern hemisphere is always in the dark.
Typical Dersley, always talking about Uranus pointing at the sun.
Exactly.
There was a film that came out this year called Moonfall. Have you heard of this, Paul?
I've heard of Skyfall.
Yeah, this is Moonfall, and it's by the director Roland Emmerich.
Never
Aware
heard
of him?
Never heard of him.
He directed Independence Day. But in Moonfall, the concept of the film is the moon crashes into the Earth.
Well, that's totally rubbish because it's going the other way. The moon is actually getting further away from the Earth.
Yeah, but I hadn't finished. It turns out that the moon is hollow and the inside is a Dyson sphere created by an alien AI that wants to kill us all. What's your thoughts on that?
Are you sure it's a Dyson sphere?
Yeah, or it's a Moonson sphere, but
Maybe
yes.
an Electrolux or something.
It's around a white dwarf sun, which is currently enclosed within the moon.
Oh, okay. Understood.
So what is a Dyson sphere then? Because I only know the vacuum cleaner, which is probably not relevant.
Well, it's one of those old vacuum cleaners that was a ball, if you remember, years ago. They used to hover. No, a Dyson sphere is a hypothetical object that would surround a star and harvest the energy from that star.
So it is a scientifically accurate film then?
No, but it's. I'm sure it's the wrong word. It's more like a globus causus,
A globus calcus.
which is
It's a globe made by cows.
sort of making an object by mining the object itself and then creating like a big sphere made out of the stuff from the inside.
So that could be happening inside our very Earth.
No.
Are you going to go and see the film?
No.
I just feel like you'd end up shouting at the screen.
Why don't you take me to see the film then?
Yeah, I'd love to.
We should live stream Dersley watching Moonfall. That'd be absolutely compelling entertainment. We take a little night vision camera so we can see all his range of emotions from fury to anger to rage
To love, to passion.
I'm not.
to hungry for popcorn.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I'll look at it. These films are usually utter rubbish.
One of my favourite bits from the trailer is where somebody is driving fast to get away from gravity, which is trying to get it. They're like, the gravity is coming for us
What?
as the moon gets closer to the Earth.
I recall a film, I can't remember which one it is, but the sun is very hot in this and the dawn is rising and a man runs from the dawn essentially and a reviewer calculated he was running at like 20,000 miles an hour or something.
Yes.
I received a text message this week,
Oh really?
Pete. Yeah. I'll play it for you if you'd like to hear it.
I'd love to hear it.
Okay.
To be somewhere that's a bit dry, you said there's less rainfall. No, I like the rain. Oh, well, where are you going then? Well, in my research, I discovered that because of something called the Coriolis effect,
Coriolis.
when water goes down the plug hole, it swirls in the opposite direction.
No, it
counterclockwise.
doesn't. Why do
Wind,
people think
storms,
this fallacy?
Everything. It all goes counterclockwise.
Anti-clockwise.
And, well, so
Jesus
I think that if
Christ.
everything goes counterclockwise...
I just want to say, I did say it in a sketch where my character is deliberately stupid and would get it wrong. So you need to give me a little bit more detail. How did I get that wrong? I mean, obviously I got the words wrong.
The Coriolis effect is in a spinning frame of reference. And of course, a spinning frame of reference is not an inertial frame because it's constantly accelerating. It has this thing called a pseudo-force, which is the Coriolis effect, which effectively generates winds around the Earth.
But what that does mean, though, is it does mean the water in your plug hole goes counterclockwise, right?
First of all, I do not accept the phrase counterclockwise.
Anti-clockwise?
Running out of paper for these
Anti-clockwise,
marks
that's
of things got wrong.
True.
Why does it make it go anti-clockwise, though? I
doesn't.
don't understand. Oh, really? Is that a myth, then?
Yes, it's a total fallacy.
Wait. Seriously?
Yeah.
Because I'm really confused.
The whole thing is it's a confidence trick or something dreamt up to fool gullible people on the equator.
Pete, did you know that?
Yeah, I did actually.
Oh.
But only because I was as disappointed as you are now when I found that out.
The other one is balancing eggs. You're supposed to be able to balance eggs on the equator better.
Sounds like a scam to get more eggs.
Exactly.
So now you're going to disappoint us by saying time doesn't go backwards in the Southern Hemisphere.
Well, time will run at different rates. Not necessarily in the Northern and Southern Hemispheres, but it's to do with the strength of gravity, which will change the way that time passes.
So we were right.
Wait, what?
But it won't go backwards.
Can I ask, Paul, would you join Pete's army, Northern Hemisphere army?
Well, the interesting thing is it has already happened, hasn't it?
Has it?
Basically, all of the Southern Hemisphere was conquered by countries from the Northern Hemisphere.
I suppose it was, in a way.
Oh, I suppose, yeah. Ooh.
Yeah, to be strictly honest about it, you sort of think about all of the, the Inca empires and all of the empires in Southern Africa were overrun.
Is it possible that the South Pole could become the North Pole? It just sort of flips over one night. We all wake up and the South Pole's now the North Pole. Is that a thing?
Well, it's purely arbitrary, and geographically it doesn't mean anything.
Oh.
Magnetically, it happens.
Oh.
It happens all the time. The magnetic North Pole becomes the magnetic South Pole, and it's overdue, actually. They can work this out by the magnetization in the rocks, and you get stripes of this was when it was north, this was when it was south. And we do a flip at the moment.
If it flips, will we have to change all our maps and put the S's on the top and the N's on the bottom?
Well, first of all, that's the really stupid thing about science, isn't it? Because the north pole of a magnet points to the north, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But like poles repel.
It's directing you to the north, though, not saying this is north.
Technically, it's called a north-seeking pole.
I don't know what we're talking about anymore.
Well, if you had a magnetic north,
Yeah.
the only thing that would be attracted to that is a magnetic south. A magnetic north would repel a magnetic north. But a north point of a compass points north.
When we talk about it being magnetic, do we mean like if there was a big giant metal rock that was in space flying past, would it be attracted to the Earth by that?
Yes.
Is it like a big magnet?
Yeah, it's just a magnet, and this is the other thing that you got wrong about the interaction of particles in the atmosphere. It's not in the atmosphere; it's with the Earth's magnetic field.
Oh, so this is to do with the Northern Lights now.
Which is to do, with the Northern Lights. And,
So what did I get wrong there?
you said it was an interaction with the atmosphere.
He also said it was a giant green walrus, though. So
Yes. I think the giant green walrus is probably a more accurate description.
So, talking of the Northern Lights, what did you think of those legends? Did any of those stand out for you? Were any of those where you thought, like, yeah, I could get behind one of those as a myth?
Well, I think all of them are, because it's the thing about how would somebody without a science, who being human needs to explain things, how would you create a story to reference what you're seeing?
But
so
kicking a walrus head around a snowfield.
that was a stretch, that one, wasn't it? The others at least had fire or glow involved.
It does beg the question, though, are walrus heads especially round? Because I would have thought those big tusks that they have would make it a fairly dangerous thing to be kicking.
Nothing about the walrus strikes me as footballable
I think they take the tusks out.
for goalposts.
Oh, that makes sense. It's a ball and goalposts
All in one. It's a kit. So let's talk magic.
Do we have to? It doesn't exist.
I know you're a big fan of David Copperfield and the like.
Barkis is willing. Well, that's a David Copperfield reference.
Oh, as in
Literature.
Charles
That's
Dickens.
what he's done. See what he's done
Yes.
there.
Well, sorry, but if someone says David Copperfield, the thing I immediately think of is the book.
You don't think of the man flying in front of the audience?
No, I might then think of some fake made-up magician.
David Copperfield, he made the Eiffel Tower disappear, didn't he?
No, he didn't.
I thought it was the Statue of Liberty, actually.
Maybe he did both.
Probably. If you can make wonders, if you can make the Eiffel Tower disappear, you could probably apply that to other monuments, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you just use the same mirrored box that he used. But that's the whole point, isn't it? I cannot watch a magic show because the thing is, I'm constantly trying to work out how it's done.
No, isn't the point to be trying to sort of work it
Yeah,
out, right?
I
Everyone's
find-
sitting there going, well, I think I know what he's doing there. Watch his hands. And then you still don't know it. And you're like, that's amazing.
Yeah, but then I'm the sort of one who stands up and said, well, actually, you've held it that way, so the water goes one way. And when you hold it the other way, the water goes the other way. That's how you've done it.
They call him the spoiler.
Alert.
Talking of magicians, though, we mentioned the name Houdini, but I didn't bring him up into the conversation. I wanted to talk about those other escapologists.
Well, one of them wasn't.
Well,
He was for a while.
he was for a while.
That is so harsh.
But he wasn't an escapologist.
He was until that last trick.
He was 99% an escapologist.
Well, first thing I wanted to talk about was Chris Angel. Chris Angel was in the news this week for having been lying down on top of broken glass and having a steamroller roll over him. Don't know if you saw that.
Nope.
But he survived that this week.
I mean, he's accident prone, this guy, isn't he?
But I did want to talk about Houdini, but I didn't want to talk about it in the episode because I feel like Houdini's kind of talked about an awful lot.
He
I
gets a
wanted
lot
to
of
talk about
publicity.
some of the other guys. So, but I did find some interesting facts about Houdini that I wanted to share with you guys. Now, I know, Petey, you're a Houdini fan.
I am.
You are, and you know quite a fair bit about
I do.
Houdini. So I'm going to tell you some facts and see whether you knew these things.
Okay, try me.
All right. So obviously you'll know that his real name is not Harry Houdini.
Correct.
He was born Eric Weiss. He had a fascination with the work of the French conjurer Jean-Eugène Robert Houdin, which is where he took the name from. In the 1890s, he just put an I at the end of Houdin and became Houdini.
I didn't know that.
He, interestingly though, he later accused Houdin of stealing other magicians' tricks. So his little childhood hero, he then went on and wrote a book about in 1908 called The Unmasking of Robert Houdin.
Oh, no.
He called him a fraud who waxed great on the brainwork of others. But one of the other things that I found out about Houdini, and I didn't know this, September 1911, Houdini is in Boston and some local businessmen approach him and say, "We want you to try and do this big trick. Will you escape from a sea monster?" And he goes, "Sure," because why not? Right? So in the harbour, this giant creature had washed up on the shore, dead. It was £1,500. Nobody really knew what it was. Historians aren't sure whether it was like a whale maybe, or maybe like a giant leatherback turtle or something.
Walrus.
Could be a giant walrus.
So that's 3/4 of a ton, so it wasn't that big.
Big enough that he was able to get inside it. So he was handcuffed, shackled in leg irons, and wedged inside this dead creature. And the monster itself was then covered in chains and placed behind a curtain. Houdini emerged 15 minutes later, but admitted that he nearly died, having nearly suffocated by the fumes from the chemicals they used to embalm the animal. How about that? Houdini escaped from a sea monster.
I would imagine, whilst embedded in the carcass of a walrus,
Decaying creature.
handcuffed, wriggling around thinking, I made a lot of choices in my life that led me to this place. I could have been an accountant.
Let's end this section with your favourite magical word or phrase. Pete, what's yours?
Well, my mother taught me my favourite magic word, which is please.
Gah!
Creep. What about you, Paul?
What did Ali Bongo used to say? What did Ali Bongo used to say?
I'm going to turn "What Did Ali Bongo Say" into a song. What did Ali Bongo say? What did Ali Bongo say?
What did Ali Bongo say?
You know Ali Bongo, he was an Englishman who dressed up as an
Put it
Arab
this way, his outfit would not fly today.
with big curly shoes.
Yeah, I mean, everything about this is pretty bad. Looking at his Wikipedia page.
History happened everywhere, Pete.
Oh, this is rough stuff, let me tell you. Okay.
No, but it wasn't then. It really wasn't. He was a children's entertainer.
Yeah, he was known as the Shriek of Araby.
Yes.
And yet he has a sort of Fu Manchu moustache and a kind of a sultanate headgear. It is something of a cultural mashup, let's say that.
But what did Ali Bongo say?
What did Ali Bongo say? Well, he was cremated in 2009. Didn't come back from that.
Not yet.
Can you try Ali Bongo catchphrase?
Among his later magic catchphrases were Uju Buju, suck another juju, Aldi Borati Fostico Formio, and Hocus Pocus Fishbones Chocus.
That one.
The original characters had sung a song which began, "My name is Ali Bongo and I come from Pongo, Pong Tiddly Pongo land."
There's nothing wrong with that. That's fine.
Pop that on a tweet, fly that out tonight, see where we end up by the morning.
So come on then, what was your favourite then, Paul?
Pom tiddly
I have one final magical fact for you.
Okay.
Which is that when a magician dies, they hold a broken wand ceremony for him or her, wherein they break the wand to suggest that with the passing of the magician, the wand has lost its magic. This was a practice that started with the death of Harry Houdini.
Ah, did he have a wand?
No, if they didn't use a wand, it was a symbolic wand. But if they had a wand, they would use that.
I feel like breaking a magician's wand should be like you're being banished from the circle.
Ooh,
do you know what I mean? Like,
sort of shunned. Snap, that's
exactly.
it. You're gone.
You're out.
Yeah, that's
no
true.
more
That'd be
magic
good.
for you.
Anyway, magically, let us move on to the next stage.
Okay.
Judge Dersley, are you ready to pronounce your verdict?
Yes, I am.
Will the defendant please rise? Your Honour, we will, as ever, start proceedings to ask your verdict on factual content.
D+.
I think that is outrageous.
That feels harsh,
Yeah,
but you know,
okay,
he's the judge.
D then.
Thank you. I'll take a D. Wait. You said D+.
Yes.
You just talked me down to a D.
Yeah.
See, that's what happens if you're trying to interfere with the wheels of justice, Ryan. Okay, and can I get your judgment on the entertainment value of the piece?
Well, I suppose in a sense of it was so bad, it was quite entertaining. B-.
At this point, I'm getting abused. This is not fair.
Well, everything could come back with Dersley Factor. So, Judge Dersley, on the matter of Dersley Factor, what is your grade?
It was all over the place, Ryan. C-.
Yeah.
You might have a rough idea of the direction of travel so far.
Yeah.
You do have an opportunity to enter your plea. If you choose to do so, please make your plea now.
Yeah. May I approach the bench?
Yes, but approach backwards and bend over.
I'll stay where I am. Your Honour, I'd like to say that I recognise in the last episode of the verdict, you said do not make it a magazine-style scattergun series of mini stories. I know I did not follow that guidance, but I have done my damnedest, my best to entertain, to bring knowledge to people. Please bear this in mind and show some compassion to me, please. Thank you.
You can't see, Your Honour, but he is weeping at this stage. Tears are running freely down his face.
Okay.
So, Your Honour, the defendant stands before you, a broken man. Have you reached a verdict?
Yes.
So I would ask most respectfully for your ruling.
D+.
I can't say anything because he'll just make it a D.
This is what happens in the Kafkaesque nightmare that is the judge's courtroom.
All I can say is that the audience is not going to like this.
I think they should write in and let the judge know how they feel about this tragedy, this miscarriage of justice.
Do you think I care?
His little face is opposite me, he's shaking his head.
I don't know why I bother. I don't know why I bother. What is the point?
I told you were going to get slaughtered this week.
So, I think it's time to look forward rather than back and
Indeed.
think about the next episode.
Yep.
Special episode, Ryan.
Episode 50.
Episode 50, where I will be attempting to talk to you about the 50th country alphabetically in Europe on the topic of 50.
Have you,
In
by the way,
period-
have you voided the warranty on my randomizer?
Yeah, I did crack open the back of it.
Why?
You can barely see the marks. It's a very good job he did, I think, actually, in fairness.
Why didn't you just make it up?
Yeah, now you mention it, yeah. That would have been better. I made a right old mess of it. I've got a whole load of pieces left over.
Yeah,
I don't know where they go.
It's going to be on the subject of 50 for the rest of the show, forever. So that's going to be a very special one. I'm looking forward very much to what goes on. I can say no more. It's all very hush-hush.
Secret stuff.
Indeed. But do tune in. You want to listen to what we get up to because it's going to be fun, fun, fun.
I could guess that you'll get a better grade than Ryan.
I'm sitting here with crossed arms.
So let's look forward. That is our show for this week. Thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to get in touch about any of the things, the topics, the miscarriages of justice we've discussed on the show, you can reach out to us on social media through our website at hhepodcast.com or email Pete and Ryan at hhepodcast.com.
Yep.
Subject line, grrr.
Indeed. Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. And you never know, you might end up featured on a future show, especially if you rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Your recommendation can really help bring the show to new listeners, and that's what we like.
If you're on the social medias like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook or Twitter, you can find us at HHE Podcast. And if you subscribe to them, you'll get a little ping every time we post a 1-minute animated HHE bite, which is quite fun. We'll be back, obviously, with the next episode soon. But in the meantime, if you can't get enough, I wouldn't blame you. Check out the back catalogue of episodes in your podcast app, YouTube, or again, the website, hhepodcast.com. So a huge thank you to the judge. Thank you, Paul.
My pleasure.
A huge thank you to Ryan. I think it was excellent, regardless of what certain judges might say.
Thanks, Pete.
And that's it. I guess all that's left to say is...
What did Ali Bongo say? You've been listening to...
Right, guys, I hate to love and leave you, but I do have an appointment, so I've got to be off.